What's up, everyone, and welcome to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, episode number 189, presented by Save the Game Media. I'm your host, Kevin, and on today's episode, we're talking all about that huge Xbox cross Amazon deal. Beyond Good and Evil is alive, maybe. Black Myth Wukong has some drama around it and so much more. But before we get to all that, gotta introduce my co-host hanging out and sending me awesome Crash Team Rumble posters. Jam-Pack Sam, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing incredibly well because the poster made it to you. And when you ship a poster, you're like, is this going to be like a viral TikTok where a dude just breaks it over his knee and throws it at your doorstep? But no, it looks like it actually made it. It was kind of crumpled up. But for the people that don't know, on the post show last week, which you can get if you subscribe to the Save the Game Media Patreon, I gifted Kevin a Crash Team Rumble Deluxe Edition poster that I'd had in my closet for like a year and a half. And I was like, this needs to go to a home that really is going to appreciate it. And what better home than Kevin's home? So congratulations.
Yes, I do appreciate it, and I appreciate the kind words you sent along with it. It was funny because when I got it, my girlfriend was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, you're gonna see what it is." So then I unrolled it, and that's that picture she took of me holding it that I sent around. And then she's like, "Why did you get a poster of this game?" I was like, "Because I'm like one of 5 people in the world that love this game, you know." Like,
yep,
where
exactly.
else is it gonna go?
It's like if somebody, which not exactly the same thing, but if there was like a giant Halo 3 cardboard standee, it's like I'm picking that up immediately, no questions asked, because that's the home it belongs to. That's how I felt whenever I had a Crash Team Rumble poster for you.
Yeah, I need a dingo dial cutout now, is what you're saying.
That might be a one of one, my friend, because I don't think they're making too many dingo dial cutouts, because that dingo dial is wild.
My dingo dial is wild, but. Everyone, this is Project XTalk. We are live every Thursday right here on youtube.com/Save the Game Media. If it can't catch us live, we post every Friday morning on your favorite audio platform of choice. While you're over there, make sure to drop us that 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, I don't care, whatever you're on. It helps us in the algorithms. If you want to support us even further, get early audio access to all of our content and exclusive bonus content, head over to patreon.com/Save the Game Media. Choose the tier that's right for you, like our current Patreon supporters. So thank you to Fabulous Brianna, Brianna's mom, Brianna's brother, Lindsay, Nikolai at Night, Cypher Primus, Brendan Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, Mimi J, David Hotright, Dave Harp, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Alpaca Tom, Lee Navarro, Silknet, and Ellery Woods Parker III. Thank you all for your support. We appreciate each and every one of you. And if you are interested in the Patreon, we have a 7-day free trial. You can check out all that exclusive content, check it out, getting everything in one feed, the early access. You can have all the benefits and see if you want to stick around. You know, it's a pretty good time over there. But that's enough housekeeping, Sam. I gotta know, what have you been playing this week?
You will have to jog my memory. Did I talk about Still Wakes the Deep on last week's show? I can't remember if I did or not.
You had played like an hour of it.
Okay, so I have finished Still Wakes the Deep. That was the late week plan. And this was a really interesting one because I thought this was the perfect time to really give Xbox Cloud Gaming a go. And that's relevant for today's show, which we'll get into the topics there. But I actually played it through Cloud Gaming on my Steam Deck for about 3.5 out of the 5 hours or so that it took me to finish the game. It's a fine game. It's a 7, it gets the job done. But I was really impressed with the cloud gaming side of it because it played so well on the Steam Deck. It almost felt like it was native. Now, it was missing stuff like the performance mode for 60 FPS. I think it was like the Xbox One version potentially. But nonetheless, it was a good time, and I recommend you play it, especially if you've got Game Pass. If not, probably wait for a sale, maybe a $10 game, $15 game, something like that. But really enjoyed it overall. It was solid.
Is it full price? If you don't,
I think it's $40.
It is 32 right now on Steam, but they are on their Steam sale, so that might be a sale. Yeah, it's 35. It looks like so.
Okay,
pretty good price range for that type of game. I mean, it's a 5-ish hour experience from what you're saying. That's Hellblade 2 length. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a very, very solid game. I think that overall, if you're into walking simulators, not in the insult kind of way, but it is a walking simulator. Yeah, and it's a good one. It's got a really good atmosphere to it. It's got some gameplay snippets to kind of break up the walking and things like that. But I never felt challenged. I never felt like I was.
Is it scary?
It is scary. There are tense moments there. I wouldn't call it necessarily like a horror game. There aren't really tons of jump scares, but there are some moments where it's like, ooh, big monsters coming at me. But I really like the setting and the world they've got there. But outside of that, which was really fun to play on the Steam Deck, I've been playing Lords of the Fallen, as has my fiance. We've been going kind of back and forth,
Mm.
tag teaming it on our different accounts, and it's a pretty good time. I know that Luke's been playing it over on XCP as well, but I'm very, very impressed with it so far.
Yeah, I've been hearing people talk about Lords of the Fallen recently, more than I feel like even when it came out, and I'm like, did
Yeah.
a new update drop for it? Like, what's going on with the resurgence in popularity?
So it popped up in Game Pass. It was added to Game Pass a couple of weeks ago, and then they've had a ton of updates over the course of the past couple of months since it came out. And I was really big on this game whenever it was coming up, but just with the way timing went, I never got around to playing it. Like it
Mhm.
looked like it was a really good game. It's kind of like a relaunch of the entire Lords of the Fallen IP, and it's got a lot of that Elden Ring kind of DNA in it. Like it is a Souls like through and through. But the cool thing about this game is that it's got this dual reality kind of setup where you have this umbral lamp, and so you hold up the umbral lamp and it gives you a look into the umbral world, and so then you can activate the lamp, go into the umbral world, but if you die there, you die for good. So it's almost a little bit more forgiving than other Souls likes, because whenever you go in and die in some kind of battle, you kind of get revived once in the umbral world, so you've got one more chance to actually get the job done.
Mm.
So I was enjoying that a little bit. Still brutal, still suck at them, but hey, we're
Okay.
making our way through. I play it for 2 or 3 hours a night. I'm having a good time with it.
Okay. Okay. So it's not it's not Wulong and or Wolong. Sorry,
Whoa,
Wukong is the other game.
let's not get these mixed up. They're very
Yeah,
different
they're so
games.
yeah, so different. You know, we got Wu Chang coming next year.
Yeah, no, it definitely has. It's still just as punishing, but I think that it's a little bit more forgiving than something like Warlong Fallen Dynasty.
No.
So I don't know if I could recommend it for like your first intro
Yeah.
into like a Souls like thing. It's still kind of hard, but I mean, like, is there really a good place to dive in? Just pick one, go for it. This one's on Game Pass. Give it a shot.
All right, all right. Probably not for me.
Hmm.
I listen. I'm pretty committed in my mind anyway to playing that Wu Chang Fallen Feathers game when it comes to Game
Yeah.
Pass next year. Like, I'm like, I'm gonna try it, and if I'm miserable, so be it. But I'm like dedicated. Like, this is the one I'm gonna try out.
Hmm.
Um, I just, I thought about playing another Crab's Treasure, but then I was like, I'll just end up using the gun.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think the most accessible one out of them all is Another Crab's Treasure. Even if you don't use the gun, it's still something you can kind of get into and get your feet wet with it. No pun intended, because it's all underwater. But yeah, dive into any of them. They're a dime a dozen these days. Pick one, pick Wu Chang, Wolong, whatever you want. Go for it. See what happens. But what have
Shout
you been playing?
Yeah, I'll get to that. Shout out Ellery in the chat hanging out. I still haven't gotten past the first boss in Wolong.
Oh yeah, that's where you learn just how important parrying is. If you don't get parrying in Wolong in that first boss fight, just put the game down, walk away. It's okay. It's because that's where you learn. That's the proving ground.
Yeah. Well, what I've been playing a plethora of games this week as I wait for the latest Trails game to come out next Friday. I'm gonna wrap up Beyond Two Souls maybe after we finish tonight, if not tomorrow or this weekend. It'll be done for sure. There's like an hour left. It's really just finding the time where my girlfriend feels like sitting down and actually like making the narrative choices with me because it's a game we play together. It's gone a little off the rails in terms of like how I feel about the game. I feel like we were telling a really compelling story, and then all of a sudden, spoilers for Beyond Two Souls if you care about a 10-year-old game at this point. Um, she like goes to the CIA, and then they introduce gameplay elements of like you're you stealth around like a war-torn country, and you have to like actually like distract guards and like kill them. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like this was a narrative choice based game, and now you're asking me to be like you. The one cool thing is you can take control of the enemies and then kill like their teammates. So that you're
Mm.
just walking up casually, and then they're like, hey, and then you just blast them in the face. And I'm like, oh my god.
It almost
Um,
sounds kind of like that one section of Death Stranding where all of a sudden you're with Mads Mikkelsen in the middle of World War II. There's like a really weird chunk of the game where you go from being Amazon guy to World War II survivor. It's very weird.
I can't tell if that was a joke.
No, it was not. No, that is a
Oh,
straight up,
okay.
that is a section of Death Stranding. I'm not lying to you.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, I'll wrap Beyond Two Souls. I still think it is a better game than Heavy Rain overall, but yeah, very interesting. Other than that, I have played about an hour and a half of the next game, which I picked up on the Steam summer sale today,
Ooh,
which I'm
oh, is
not
it going?
yeah, it's good. I was thinking maybe for the post show, we just open up the Steam summer sale and start looking around in there, you
Oh
know? It
yeah,
could be
I'm
a
not
fun
waiting for the
time.
post show. I'm not waiting for the post show. Let's go.
Well, I grabbed Kingdom Under Fire Crusaders and Heroes. I'm playing Crusaders right now. And if anyone doesn't know, these were OG Xbox exclusives, like the original Xbox
Ooh,
console. They got brought to PC in 2020. They've been on my wish list. They're only a few dollars each. So I was like, I have fond memories of these as a kid. I'm gonna grab it. So I just have them like preserved in my library. But I played about an hour and a half of it. The memories came flooding back. I'm like, this is what I remember. You know, walking around. It combines like real time strategy elements with Dynasty Warriors. So, like, you move your units, you can set up archers and paladins, and eventually you'll get like air bombers or whatever. But then when you get into combat, it's like hack and slash combat, and it's enjoyable. It's a very ugly game, and I'm like, man, the OG Xbox games in my mind, they look so crisp and beautiful, and then when you boot them up, they're like, oof, this is hideous.
yeah. No, I'm looking at gameplay right now. It kind of reminds me of like the desolate landscape kind of reminds me of like early Armored Core games. I feel like I
Mhm.
remember Armored Core having like nothing because you're flying around in a mech all the time anyway. But there's something about these little nostalgic gems. I see it was released in 2020, so it's like an HD upres
Mhm.
for modern PC stuff. So yeah, more of that. You know, not everything has to be like crazy remake from the ground up, rebuild
Yeah.
kind of stuff. The nostalgia speaks for itself. So I love seeing that kind of thing. That's awesome.
My only issue is there's a 360 Kingdom Under Fire called the Circle of Doom
Hmm.
that is still exclusive to the 360. That one didn't get brought over for some reason, and it's not back compat. So, like, if I ever
Mm.
wanted to play that, I need a 360.
Yeah, that is very obnoxious. I hate when games get trapped places. That's why I don't mind the cross population of like, hey, put that over there, whatever makes it easier to play in 30 years whenever I'm inevitably collecting all this stuff once again.
Yeah, yeah. When I regret giving away those games, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta get them back. Gotta get
Yeah,
them back.
100%. That's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, so I don't think this is a very long game. There's like a few different characters you can play through, like get different perspectives of the story, and like each time the difficulty will go up. So like you start at easy with like the human, and then you can play as like a vampire on normal, but then like very hard as like the Dark Lord or something. So it's like it's got some interesting stuff going on there. Just I don't I will beat at least one of the campaigns that I'm going through, and then maybe I'll just like sit there and when I'm feeling like, oh, there's a dull moment, I'll run through this other one because they're not very long campaigns.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. I'm glad you're re-experiencing those childhood memories.
I got to talk to you about this next game, though. And before I do, I have to issue a formal apology to Remedy and Quantum Break fans because I was sleeping on Quantum Break, y'all. I have
Oh
done
yeah.
nothing but sing the praises of Alan Wake 2, Control, Max Payne. And I was like, Quantum Break, like that's that TV show game. Like, I don't need that. Um, Finally decided to play it, and hot damn, is this game awesome.
It is very
Why
good.
are people why did no why didn't nobody tell me? Why are people still not talking about this? Why, like, I feel like the only time I heard Quantum Break mentioned was they're like, oh, so it's not canon to the current Remedy verse. And they're like, well, Microsoft owns the IP. It's so obvious that Remedy wanted this to be in the Alan Wake universe. Like, there are multiple times, like 5 minutes of the game, you find a TV, you turn it on, and then Alan Wake is there, and they're basically laying out like Return from Alan Wake 2. I'm like, okay, so they had this whole thing. Like Sam Lake is in there. They were brainstorming 10 years ago about this whole thing.
Yeah, it is a super good game. I feel like whenever I think about the Xbox and I think about the underrated games, obviously Sunset Overdrive is the one that always comes to mind that people always talk about of like talking about things that are abandoned on a console. Sunset Overdrive being stuck over on Xbox in general. And a bummer for people that didn't get to play it over there. But on top of Sunset Overdrive, Quantum Break is one that I actually played towards the end of the Xbox One generation. I played it on the Xbox One X kind of that summer before the Series X launched because I'm like, okay, biding my time. I'm in the next gen waiting room over here. What am I
Mhm.
supposed to do? So I was going back through and playing some of those deeper cuts, I guess. I also played the new Battletoads game. I associate those in my mind in that period of time.
Nice.
But yeah, the world of Quantum Break, the gameplay of Quantum Break, thought it had pretty solid combat as well,
It
like
does.
decent gunplay, and I love the like slow down time. It's great. I really enjoy Quantum Break.
The way I would describe Quantum Break's gameplay is if you've played Alan Wake's American Nightmare, they refined that because it feels very similar. Like, because Alan Wake's American Nightmare is basically like an action game where you just
Mm,
run around. Like, they refined that, gave him some sweet superpowers, like slow down time. My favorite is like when you turn into the Flash and then you just run up and like punch people. I
yeah,
was
it's
like, man,
solid.
so cool. And like Sean Ashmore kills it, obviously. I didn't know that the actress that plays Beth in Quantum Break, Courtney Hope is her name. She also voices Jesse in Control, and
Really?
I'm like, yeah, because like obviously if you played Quantum Break, like Beth and Jack, Sean Ashmore's character have like a little thing going on, and I'm
Hmm.
like, this is so obvious that they like, oh, we're gonna
Yeah.
make her Jesse, and then he's like, we're bring him back for Alan Wake too. I'm like, man, Sam Lake, you just know what you're doing. But yeah, I like the story a lot. It wasn't a very long game. I think it took me 7-ish hours, mate. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty short. I have watched some of the TV show parts. They're not available like just straight up like in game anymore. You have to like download them separately or go to YouTube is probably the easier way instead of downloading stuff. But they're they're nothing like amazing. They're like, oh, a little more background lore to the stuff that was going on. But I thought the story was good. Obviously, they wanted a sequel to this, but I don't know if Microsoft is like really, oh no, we're gonna hold on to this for some reason. But like,
Yeah.
get this everywhere. Like get this back to Remedy. Like, let's get Quantum Break going again.
Yeah, I agree. Let them have the rights to do whatever they wanted to do with it or open it up and bring it to other places. So Quantum Break was removed from Game Pass last year, right?
Hmm.
Briefly. But
Yep.
was it because the TV show sections got removed? Is that what the reasoning was there? Because I
No,
played it and the TV shows were in there.
I think it was something to do with the licensing agreement. It might have been the TV shows, but it was something to do with licensing, I think is all they ever said.
Interesting. Yeah, I need to do more research on that. Or if anybody in the chat knows, or in the comments, let us know. Because whenever I played it back in, I guess that was probably summer 2020, the TV show was in there, and I watched like the first 30 seconds, and I was like, all right, let's get back to the gameplay. But it
Okay.
was all right. Yeah, I agree.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. Another feature I liked about this was like it would show you your friends' choices after you like chose a path as Paul in the junctions,
Oh
and
yes, yes,
so I
yes,
could I
yes.
could see like the amount of people on my friends list that chose to kill innocent people. I was like, what is wrong with you psychos? And then
Oh yeah,
you and I aligned on most things. When I was looking, I was like, okay, all right. But you'd
fantastic.
always have those. You always have those 3 to 4 people grouped together choosing the horrible option.
Yeah, you sometimes you got the people that are just divergent, and you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go all in and do the evil thing. So I appreciate that as well. That's part of the role playing, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah, very fun, very fun. Can't speak highly enough about that. So Remedy just keep giving me bangers. That's all I gotta say. But
Oh, they will.
why don't we jump into the news because we have quite a bit to talk about this week. First up, Xbox and Amazon have announced a collaboration where Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members can play games directly from the Xbox app on select Fire TV devices via cloud gaming. For those curious, you'll need a Fire TV Stick 4K Max or Fire TV Stick 4K in order to access the content, with those two sticks coming in at $60 and $50 respectively. This isn't the first time Xbox has worked to expand access to Game Pass via the cloud. Samsung TVs currently are the only smart TVs with the Xbox app, and just this week, patents from 2022's Xbox's long canceled Keystone streaming device were uncovered. Sam, Xbox Fire Stick for Amazon. This seems like a pretty big cloud gaming deal to me because I don't know if you're aware, but there are millions and millions of Fire Sticks out there.
Yeah, this is a very big deal. And I do want to clarify, just to reiterate, because you read it and I saw a couple of people talking on threads about it, about the install size of Fire stuff. And it could get it, Fire. It could spread to other devices over time. But right now, it is just the Fire TV Stick 4K Max or the Fire TV Stick 4K. So just two of their lines. Now, I've got like a 1080p Fire Stick from 2017, and
Same.
it's like you're not going to be running Game Pass or any kind of cloud gaming on that. But this is a huge step forward to something that a lot of people are going to have, and that a lot of people are going to buy, because right now, before any discounts, like you said, 60 and $50, come Prime Day, you're looking at probably $20 and $30 for these sticks to be able to get it in your house, plug it into your TV, and you're pretty much ready to go. That's a very, very, very big deal.
I still do like I agree with you. I think I googled it and it said about at 2020 or 2022, sorry, that there was about 150 million Fire Stick users like total. And then these models are the 2023 and later models. And but they've said they've added 50 million in the last 2 years. So like 50 million people could potentially now have access to Xbox Game Pass. Do I think all of those people are going to subscribe? Obviously not. But if you can get a million, 2 million, like that, it would be a massive success. I just think like expanding cloud gaming is one of Microsoft's, KPIs, their performance measures that they're looking at. They obviously want Game Pass to grow. So as Ellery's pointing out, super happy for more access. I think that's really what it comes down to. Like this is their strategy. Get it everywhere. I can't. I'm just wondering, and I don't know how you feel. But like, why is this not on every TV?
Yeah, no, I think that's the plan going forward. And I think that if you read the blog, I really like the way they kind of teed it up of, hey, after you get done checking out the Fallout show on Prime, if you want to play Fallout
Oh, yeah, I
76 or
saw that.
Fallout 4, you can just boot it up on your Fire TV stick, and that makes it way easier than ever. And I do think the long-term plan is going to be for them to get it on Samsung, for them to get it on Fire TVs. And I think that that's a bigger task than it might seem, because like right now, this is only available on the high-end 4K stuff. On Samsung TVs, I think it's like 2022 or later. So I
Mhm.
think they're probably testing and learning and figuring out how they can push the limits of the software, where they can leverage little workarounds to get it running well. Because the last thing you want to have is, hey, the Xbox app is out now, dive in, try to play Fallout 76, and then it runs at like 10 FPS and you get a drop connection every 5 seconds. So probably a ton of testing and learning with a lot of different models and various software builds and things like that. But I think that it's inevitably going to be one of those things where, hey, Roku, you're now a Xbox partner. Now you can just play things on Roku TV. That's the big one in my mind,
Mhm.
because of how
Same.
big like TCL is with Roku. Those
Yep.
like lower end, probably not going out immediately and buying a $500 console group of people. That's where you can tap into an audience that's never played Xbox before and really build out that player base even bigger.
Yeah, like I said, I obviously got the LG OLED behind me, but I got a TCL downstairs, and those TVs are like 100 to 250. Like if you want, like depending on the size you're getting, those are very cheap, affordable 4K TVs. And if they can get those into the hands of like those are what the masses are buying. Like not everyone is going out there dropping 1,200, $2,000 on a television and then being like, oh, can I cloud stream? It's like if you're looking
Mhm.
for an affordable option gaming wise, like they got to be screaming this from the roof.
Yeah, and that's exactly the demographic they've got to target with this, because like you and I will use cloud gaming in passing. Like I used it for
Mhm.
Still Wakes the Deep. We'll use it. I know I've seen a ton of people on threads talking about, oh, this is going to be great for vacation, because I can just, instead of having to load up a console, I can take a stick with me and just plug it into the back of the TV. But like I said, if you want to get new players in, you really want to be able to say, like you said, hey, you got this $120 TV on Prime Day. Guess what? It's an Xbox too, kind of. So you can hook up whatever controller you've got and get going with it. So I'm excited to see where it goes. My question is, will this be something that people just jump in, try? It's technically checking a box of like a new user, but then they never go back to it. Like, is it going to be inflating those numbers and then taking down the average playtime overall because of how many more people are trying it but not spending time with it?
I think it really depends how they market it and what the content like it's launching in July, so in a few days. And obviously we know like they're pushing Fallout with it with the TV show. I guarantee that'll be plastered all over the marketing for this. Like
Yeah.
it should be on Fire Stick boxes, like the app symbol. Like they should really make it so like this is known. If you're buying this device, it should be popping up on the current users. Like when I plug my Fire Stick in, like I get a bunch of ads. It's like watch this here, watch this here. Like you should just have a Game Pass right now. Like no Xbox. It should specifically say no Xbox required.
Yeah, no, and I think that even whenever Prime does that thing where you can push up whenever you're watching Fallout and see like these are the actors that are in it. Here's what else they've been in. Like they've got the little UI overlay. I
Hmm.
wouldn't even be surprised to see a hey, by the way, you can play Fallout on Game Pass right now. Like they could totally integrate that kind of thing.
That'd be
And I do
awesome.
think that at that point you're pushing the boundaries of like, okay, you're really shoving this gaming stuff in my face for somebody that might not care. So it's a balance, like we've talked about with the Xbox splash screens during startup for things like Starfield and things like that. So there's a balance there, but yeah, they should really double down. And I know we've got more questions about the overall streaming space and
Hmm.
stuff later on, but I'm excited for it. I'm right there with Ellery. You know, I think this is great just to expand it to more people, get more people playing, and really grow Xbox as big as it can be.
Yeah, Ghostly March in the chat says, "How do you connect the controller?" Bluetooth. So your Xbox controller, which I have right here, automatically is enabled. That's a Bluetooth controller. You can also use PlayStation controllers. Like Xbox doesn't limit you to what controllers. If you want to use your DualSense, you do that. If you want to use your DualShock 4, you can do that. Like they really make it pretty easy.
Yeah, on Xbox we have no limits, so you know it's yeah. You're welcome. That's a free one for you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Shout out other
Meanwhile,
Sam.
yeah, shout out other Sam over at No Limits, our sister podcast. But meanwhile, like I want to play PS Plus on my PC, and they're like, you need a DualShock 4, DualSense, no good here.
Oh, is that really how that works?
Yeah, you can't use a PS5 controller to do PS Plus on PC.
That's crazy. Especially like I think you should be able to use any controller anywhere. Like the fact that the Xbox blog specifically says DualSense and DualShock, great, love that. But the fact you can't even use a PlayStation controller on PlayStation stuff is crazy, even if it's next gen.
Ellery brings up a good point in the chat. They say, I think the barrier to entry here would be the controller. I think the same sentiment holds. If you don't have a console, will you have controllers hanging around? No, I don't think you'll have controllers hanging around unless you have like an old, like I said, I don't know if 360 is Bluetooth even. I'm sure there
I don't know.
are. Unless you had an older console and you like got out of the video game space for a while, but like it's much easier of a sell, in my opinion, to say $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate and then a $40 pre-owned controller at GameStop.
Yeah, I mean that could be the thing. I also think that maybe this is something that taps into like that PlayStation 4 player that might not be an avid or I guess avid is the right word, an avid gamer anymore. They've got the controller, but they want to play whatever the newest game is that just dropped on Game. They want to play Hellblade. Let's
Mhm.
say maybe they've seen an ad for it, they saw a billboard or something. Then now they can go play Hellblade through their Fire Stick with the DualShock 4 they've had for 10 years at this point and get it done and kind of get going there. So I think maybe that's the demographic as well. One thing I also want to call out that I noticed from the blog, they specifically mentioned Fortnite is still going to be free to play as it is on cloud gaming right now,
Yep.
which isn't changing anything. Like that's not a new announcement, but that's going to be a big thing too, because if you're a parent with kids and you, like you said, want to go buy a $30-$40 used controller or whatever, or you've got a DualShock 4 laying around, you know, you can play Fortnite pretty much anywhere, even on phones through cloud gaming and various things. But to have one more way to get into that for free, no subscriptions, nothing needed, that's a pretty big win there too.
Ghost of March. Can I use the Joy Cons? They're Bluetooth enabled, so I don't see why not.
Are they really Bluetooth?
I believe so.
Interesting. I have no idea. I haven't touched a Joy-Con in 5 years.
I don't use. I use my Pro controller because I'm not a we've talked about this. The buttons hurt my hands. They're too
Yeah,
hard.
understandable. I
Um,
did boot up my Switch Lite to download Star Wars Hunters because I just wanted to see what was going on over there. I haven't played it yet, but I downloaded it.
I have only heard Seth Sturgill over at Carpool talk about that game positively. Everyone else, I've heard nothing but horrible things.
I played it for 5 minutes on my phone on the train, so I will report back next week with potentially more Switch Lite impressions, but I don't have high hopes.
Sam Heaney did write in with a question about this. It says, with the barriers continually being broken down by Xbox and the lack of need for an Xbox console being ever more apparent, how hard do you expect Xbox Microsoft to actually push the next generation hardware they're working on? The handheld certainly would merit some heavy marketing, but it does seem that whatever dedicated console they come out with may be solely for an ever more niche hardcore market where the juice may end up not being worth the squeeze. I have some thoughts on this, mainly because I think the next generation of Xbox hardware is going to be like the Switch. It's going to be a
Mm.
handheld hybrid. If the handheld rumors seem to have some traction, all right, people seem to be really behind this idea. I just can't get over the fact that they would be like, "Oh, we got a handheld, and then we have a console too." Like the console's not selling, but maybe you'll like our handheld, and then we're also going to have the just make it one device. It's a less research and development you have to do. It's less manufacturing. Like just make it a Switch like device.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different ways they could go about it. I think on one hand, that could be the Switch thing, like you're talking about. On the other hand, it could be something that, and this is probably where I would want to see it go personally. Not that I don't like my Steam Deck or that I don't like the handheld stuff, but I just feel like the cloud power in my mind is where you're tapping into servers like this year's Call of Duty is going to do, where you don't have everything installed on the system. You can stream textures from the cloud, or you can stream additional, like how they have GeForce Now, where you're really tapping into those servers to actually power the games. It'd be cool to have some onboard graphic power, but then you've also got the real meat coming from the server to make games run and look better than ever, improve graphics across the board, that kind of thing. So maybe it's a souped up cloud-based, streaming enhancement for a lot of the games for next generation. So those are like two options in my mind. But to the question of, does this take away from how they promote the next generation? I don't necessarily think that it does, because in my mind right now, I look at this like any kind of car company that has traditional gas powered cars versus electric cars. Like we all know electric is a big part of the future. That's where things
Mhm.
are going. You're going to have more and more of these coming into the market, but you're not going to see Ford going out and only talking about the electric Ford F-150. You're still going to have the like diesel big lifted truck Ford F-150 that you can still play and enjoy like you always have. And so I think it's probably going to be a blend of both, but they'll continue focusing on this kind of thing, especially in like that secondary marketing. Like you will have the big console push, but this is going to be a constant little reminder of, hey, you can buy that. That's your traditional thing. If you're comfortable with that, you can also just boot up your Fire Stick if you want. Either way, we don't really care as long as you play the games.
The chat does point out to me that that would be a ridiculously expensive handheld device because like the ROG Ally can't do 4K and that's $700, right? So like I totally get where you're coming from. If they want to keep it at a $500 price point, that's a difficult thing to do if you're doing a console hybrid and you want the console to have power, which obviously like the Switch got away with it because they're like 460p is good, right? Like that's you guys are cool with that or blurry images. Um totally concede that point. Wasn't thinking about the price point of this thing at all.
Yeah, the price point's going to be a big thing there. I do think that, I mean, if they could get it down to like the Xbox Series S price of $300, and then you throw in like a Logitech G Cloud esque kind of handheld in there with the Xbox branding on it, not to say that it's a Logitech G Cloud, but the general quality, the general build stuff there, then you could probably get like 550, 600 maybe if you wanted that. But even then, it's like, how many people, it's kind of like the Connect, like they
Mhm.
bundled the Connect in with it. How many people really want that handheld versus wanting to save $150 and just buy their console? I think that you run into that weird bundle issue again.
The handheld is enticing to me just like because if I could play my entire library, but my hope is that they would have that UI available to like Steam Deck, ROG
Yeah.
Ally, Lenovo, Legion Go, like let them get that UI, play their game, play Xbox natively on those handhelds because like does that hurt? That's getting more people in the ecosystem for you still.
Yeah, I think that we're getting away from. I think that Xbox is becoming Valve. I mean, that's really the direction it's going. Not to say they're taking over the PC space, but that the hardware they will provide that. They will have their Steam Deck, equivalent, which is Xbox. And now they're partnering with Hori. They're bringing some new Steam controllers to the market as well that don't have that Xbox branding. There was a really interesting report that came out this week around that. But they don't care where you're playing as long as you're playing. So plug a backbone in, use your iPhone, use an Android, do Steam Deck, buy their
Mhm.
hardware, whatever that might be. As long as you're playing games, they're happy.
There is a portion of the cloud gaming we haven't touched on, and that is playing your current library, not Game Pass. Getting your actual games that you bought, cloud streaming them on your phone, on your TV, on your Fire Stick. Eventually, like, where is it? We've been hearing about this for years at this point. Obviously, you don't know where it is, but like, are that is something that would get me to engage with cloud gaming way more than than just being limited to Game Pass Ultimate.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like how you had to clarify. Like, I know you don't know where it
Yeah,
is,
yeah. Sam,
Sam. You
Sam, where is it?
I would love to see that too. I also think that there's probably a lot of back into that to make sure the games run well on whatever server stuff they're running on or the virtual hardware, that kind of thing. But also the utility of it. I mean, right now, I'd be interested to learn the metrics behind cloud gaming of how many people are using cloud gaming just to generally check out games, see what's new in Game Pass, see what's new in the cloud library, probably on console, stream the game before downloading it to see if you even want to play that game, versus people that are explicitly asking to be able to stream their libraries. And then when you think about monetization of that, if people are subscribing to Game Pass to be able to stream their stuff, how many of those people would also go out and spend $50 on Assassin's Creed Mirage or $70 on whatever the next big game might be? And I don't know if they're doing studies around that or just chalking up some numbers, but I'd imagine the income around that probably bakes in as well.
I just view it as another like quality of life feature for the Xbox ecosystem once they do eventually implement like streaming your library and not just remote play, because I already look at where I'm buying games and I'm like, "Oh, this has play anywhere." Like that, even if I don't use that feature, the fact that I know it's going to be in my PC library, it's going to be in my ROG library, like that is a very enticing thing for me. So just to get rid of that concern altogether and like I could play this literally anywhere I want to play. That would make me even go to Xbox more to buy games.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And especially, like on one of my monitors here, I was going through the Steam sale and the Ascent is on sale for $6. And I know I've been talking about with a couple of people about the Ascent, and it's a game that I played through probably half of on Game Pass, but I never got around to finishing. In a couple of weeks when the Xbox summer sale kicks off, I would love to pick up the Ascent again. And if it was in cloud gaming by default, not having to be on Game Pass, I would love to play it on my Steam Deck. Like that
Yeah.
feels like a great game for that. So yeah, hearing your logic there, I agree.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have for the Xbox cloud gaming discussion. So, good deal. If you got a Fire Stick, uh, have fun. If you're interested, again, $60, $50 currently. That's a pretty good price, especially my girlfriend's got one of those old Fire Sticks. I'm like, it's a pretty cheap upgrade. Just
Yeah, and you can upgrade. There is like an upgrade path. Honestly, I might buy one because I have a 2020 TCL and the UI on that thing is chugging so
mine
slow.
is, yeah, I think I have the 2020 as well, and it's dying.
I was looking at, I watched Godzilla -1 on Netflix last weekend. I kid you not, I had to restart my television 3 times to even watch a Netflix movie. I was getting ready to push the buy button on an Apple TV. I'm like, can I please be released from this prison that Netflix has me in right now? It's
So
horrible.
weird, the apps on Roku that will work and don't. Like Amazon Prime never had an issue with it.
Yep.
Netflix freezes at 99% constantly. Max refuses to just open sometimes. Paramount is like chugging along. I'm like, what's going on?
The worst is whenever I finally get Netflix ready to go. It's been 10 minutes. My internet's chugging along trying to get this 4K HDR movie on this shitty piece of hardware TV. And then I toss the remote on the couch and it hits the sling button. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah,
Not again.
I wish I could remove that. I've never used Sling TV. Why is this a button on
Why
here?
is that a thing? I don't need this. It's so ridiculous.
All right, Sam. Well, let's go to our second story. One I put in here just for you. Beyond Good and Evil 2 lives. On Monday, the official Twitter account for Beyond Good and Evil tweeted the following quote, "Yes, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still in development, and we cannot wait for you to discover more about Jade's past in the 20th anniversary edition. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is the sequel to 2003's cult classic, and it was announced in 2008, but Ubisoft has yet to show anything of substance about the sequel." So I sent you this tweet. We had a pretty funny exchange back and forth, but you've been on the Beyond Good and Evil train over on your own channel. I know I saw a video come
Yes.
out about it. So talk to me about this.
So, to be fair, they showed off some gameplay in 2018. Now, it was early gameplay. It looked pretty good. We've seen the trailers. We've seen Joseph Gordon-Levitt trying to convince people to just build the game themselves. A variety of topics like that. I think the most interesting thing to me that I wanted to bring up on the show is the more that I researched it, the more that I found that this was not a commercial success at all originally and really has no reason to be getting a sequel at this stage of the game. Probably should have never been greenlit to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you watched the short or not, but somebody on Reddit had called out that they were literally giving away copies of Beyond Good and Evil on bags of cheese. Like you could buy
I
string cheese.
did not know that.
Back in the day, you could buy a bag of string cheese, and Ubisoft would throw in a copy of Beyond Good and Evil.
It's literally the second when I Google Beyond Good and Evil, the second link that pops up is today I learned on Reddit, and it says today I learned that due to poor game sales, Beyond Good and Evil was packaged with mozzarella cheese.
So why are we talking about this game? What is that? 14 years later? How long's it been since 2008 officially?
16 years.
Yeah, so 16 years, you know, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is in driver's ed at this point. Why are we fighting this hard? Now, the optimistic side of me, I'm always trying to be an optimist. The game looked good when they showed it off. It looked interesting. It's got a cool vibe to it. And with the 20th anniversary edition, I'm excited to give it a shot. Ubisoft sent me a code. I have not played it yet, but I have downloaded it. So that might be on the roster for this weekend if I can finish up Lords of the Fallen. But yeah, just a super interesting game. And for them to double down and confirm that it's still happening, there's got to be something actually going down, right? Like they've got to be getting ready to actually show it off, maybe at the Game Awards this year. When will we see this game?
I really want to like Skull and Bones. I think we've talked about this. Like, I thought that was vaporware for the longest time, right? And
Yeah.
this is a game that is even more vaporware because it's been announced longer. They've been working on it supposedly longer than Skull and Bones was in development. I'm looking here. I'm trying to see like sales. All I'm seeing is like they quickly reduced price by 80%. And I'm like, well, that's a Ubisoft classic these days. Like that happens every Christmas. But do we see it at the Game Awards? I don't. Would anyone really care? Like, is that a big pop off, or is that just like a, oh my God, finally they're showing this game?
I think it's one of those things where it's got like this sense of like mythology around it, where it would almost be like if Valve said Half-Life 3 and then everybody just blew their minds, you know? That's kind of how I see Beyond Good and Evil 2. And I also think this goes back to a thing I talked about a couple of weeks ago. I think Ubisoft is at a stage of their game and their life where they just want to get this stuff done. You know, like Skull and Bones out the door, give it 5 seasons of content, call it a day. And I think the Beyond Good and Evil 2, I'm sure the Yves Guillemot logs in every day and he's like, I have this one-on-one on my calendar again. I've been having the same meeting for 16 years, and I know that he's just done. So I'm ready to see it, get it out the door, do something with it, maybe pare it back and make it not as big of a project as you originally thought it would be, but just like wrap it up, you know, put a bow on it and call it a day.
Yeah, let's just. It's not gonna sell well, right? Like.
No, not at all. I can't imagine this thing is going to sell well. I mean, at this point, the people that were fans of Beyond Good and Evil way back in the day, back in 2003,
they're 30.
I mean, that's assuming they played it when they were what, 6, maybe 7, something like that. You're looking at people that are in their mid 30s, which is like admittedly probably our demographic of the podcast and the communities we run in. But at the same time, yeah, this is not going to be doing numbers. You're not going to be seeing this one in the top 10 sellers. It's unfortunate. It's weird. It's a weird situation.
All right. Well, we'll see if anything ever comes of Beyond Good and Evil 2, but let's keep it rolling. I had this at number 4, but we're on the Ubisoft train, so I want to stick with Ubisoft. We'll go back to number 3 because in a Ubisoft website interview, CEO Yves Guillemot, I can never pronounce his name.
Yves Guillemot
confirmed the news when asked about what fans should expect in the next few years. He said, Assassin's Creed remakes. Firstly, players can be excited about some remakes, which will allow us to revisit some of the games we've created in the past and modernize them. Why is my big question. I understand the answer is money, but Assassin's Creed started on the Xbox 360 generation, right? Like, I'm not going crazy here. Most of those games, I believe, can still be played on Xbox today. And I don't think they're like in need of really modernize. Like, they hold up pretty well, I think.
Yeah, they hold up well. I think that it's right now, let's just call it what it is. we're talking about Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. That's the big one that everybody's talking about, because you had the Ezio collection, which was kind of like a remaster bundle of everything for the Xbox One, I think, and I don't know if it got next gen enhancements or not. But like those have been kind of redone. You have Assassin's Creed 3 remastered, so that's been done. Now we're up on Assassin's Creed 4. I can't imagine you're going to be. Actually, maybe I take that back. I was going to say I can't imagine doing Syndicate or Unity, but then I remembered Unity had a big comeback, and that's the best parkour in the entire series. So um, maybe they revisit some of those less popular games that didn't pop off then that could pop off now. I don't think Syndicate would pop off, but nonetheless, be weird to kind of leave it out. So I could see it making a comeback.
Alpaca Tom in the chat says Assassin's Creed 2 remake with extended playtime and RPG levels. Boosters will be sold. I mean, time savers. So I know he's making a joke, but there is a train of thought there where they go back and by modernize them means make them into RPG lights like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Implement those new mechanics that we see in maybe better selling Assassin's Creed games, the modern ones, and put them in the old ones. I know a lot of fans that preferred the OG Assassin's Creed like stealth gameplay and would not be happy with that. But that is a train of thought that they could go and do that.
Yeah, I mean, they could do that. Let me tell you right now, if you go back and you put RPG mechanics in Assassin's Creed 2, riots in the streets tomorrow. Like, no question about it in my mind. And I feel like there's almost like a responsibility to save that era of gaming. Like, that's what the Ezio collection did, is that, hey, you can go back and play Assassin's Creed. I don't know which ones were included there. 2 Revelations, a couple of other ones. Brotherhood, I think those were the 3 Ezio games. Like, save that era, and then you can continue building in the Valhallas and your other big, RPG style Assassin's Creed. So I don't know if they would end up doing that, but I'm just looking for Black Flag with like better water. That's all I really want. That's all I really want. And the funny thing is, Black Flag remastered would be a better game than Skull and Bones. And it would have the same kind of mechanics. And it's going to be really sad when that's the reality, because I feel for those Skull and Bones devs, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Like I said, I'm not an Assassin's Creed guy. I'm not even a Ubisoft guy, all right? They haven't made a game that I've been really liked since 2013, all right? Rayman. That was the last time I really I played a little Rainbow Six Siege, but like in terms of games that I'm like gonna champion, Rayman. Rayman all day.
We will see.
Yeah, we'll see. But let's talk about let's end on some drama, air quotes. Black Myth Wukong has some drama surrounding it. The upcoming action adventure game Black Myth Wukong has been highly anticipated since its reveal, touting stunning visuals and what appears to be fantastic combat. However, developer Game Science has revealed that the Xbox Series version of the game will not launch alongside the PC and PS5 versions in August. Originally announced for Xbox Series consoles, fans were curious why the logo was suddenly absent during the recent Summer Game Fest trailer. Game Science responded and said, quote, "We are currently optimizing the Xbox Series X and S version to meet our quality standards, so it won't release simultaneously with other platforms. We apologize for the delay and aim to minimize the wait for Xbox users. We will announce the release date as soon as it meets our quality standards." This, of course, led us down the same road it always does, blaming the Xbox Series S. When Windows Central asked Xbox for a comment, they replied, quote, "We're excited for the launch of Black Myth Wukong on Xbox Series X and S and are working with Game Science to bring the game to our platforms. We can't comment on the deals made by our partners with other platform holders, but we remain focused on making Xbox the best platform for gamers, and great games are at the center of that." Sam, does Black Myth Wukong have a PlayStation exclusivity deal? Are they lying to our faces?
I think this is, in my opinion, when I saw this, and again, I have nothing to base this on, I think this is a PR rep that was poorly informed. I don't think there's any kind of deal going on here that's keeping them. I think that if the studio did have a deal and they blamed it on Xbox Series performance in general, or Xbox performance issues in general, and then it was found that they instead signed a $200,000 deal or whatever, $2 million deal with Sony, that would be a big blowback in their face. So I don't think they would end up doing that. I think this is probably just a PR mistake on Xbox's part, more than likely.
It seemed very strange that Xbox would throw that line in there because there's really no need to. Like, unless, like you were saying, the person writing that had no idea what game science had said previously. Because the first half, I'm like, okay, they're aligned. Like, yeah, we're working with game science to bring the game over. That lines up, and then they just throw in this console deal part, and I'm like, that's a very strange line to include if unless you were trying to rile people up. Hopefully it is just some ignorant PR intern typing this out to them because I'm almost certain, and I'm not a lawyer, someone go ask Hogue Law, but I'm almost certain that developers have to confirm if there's like an exclusivity deal. Like I almost think they have to disclose that, kind of like how if you got a sponsorship video or something, like you
Yeah.
have to disclose that to the audience. I feel like that is standard practice in the industry. I can't remember the last time we heard about a game that had an exclusive deal and refused to tell us. Like, we know Final Fantasy VII has an exclusive deal. We know that was extended. Like, these things are pretty out in the open and discussed. So it doesn't really make sense to me that they would lie and be like, yeah, I just can't get it working on Xbox. Meanwhile, the PlayStation's like dropping money in their back pocket.
Yeah, 100%. I think they've got to disclose this stuff. I think that it's in their best interest to, even if they don't have a legal obligation to. And I think that I'm sure that journalists have asked them directly, hey, do you have any exclusivity deals? And then they probably said, no, we're just working on the game. So I think it's the PR intern kind of thing. I really don't. I don't want to read too far into it here. But as with Baldur's Gate 3, launch it when it's ready. And I would imagine most people have probably forgotten that game wasn't even on Xbox at launch. That 3 months goes away a lot sooner than you think it would.
Yeah, I do think Baldur's Gate did suffer launching later. I'm sure it didn't sell as well on Xbox, and then
Oh,
Xbox
yeah.
also has some bugs at launch for Baldur's Gate. So I'm okay. Like, I think Black Myth Wukong looks good. I'm interested in it. It's not like, oh my God, I need to play this day one. And if I did, I have a PC, I have a PlayStation, I could do that. I'm like, I'll just wait for the Xbox version, support them over there, show that there's an interest for these games. If it turns out, like after reading reviews, talking to other people, like it's a game I want to play. I think the people online blowing this way out of proportion that are like, it's the Series S. No, PlayStation's got a secret deal. Like, you're using the most ridiculous PR phrases for your console war, and there's just nothing here. Like, this is the most non-story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the issue is, but like I said, nonetheless, keep chunking away at it. I also will wait and play it on Xbox. We joked last week, I think, after and during the post show, there is no shortage of games that play like this. So I'm happy to kind of jump around and do different stuff. And I will clarify on the Baldur's Gate 3 thing that I said, just to set the record straight. What I meant was the narrative isn't something that's super memorable for people of like, oh, there was this weird gap before it released on Xbox. Like now it's available everywhere. People don't think about where it wasn't for a little period of time. Like it's fine now. So that's what I was getting at.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I fully agree. Most people just think I'm playing Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Not like I'm playing Baldur's Gate on Xbox 3 months late.
Yeah. Yeah, there are plenty of people online that are talking about I'm playing X on whatever. And I'm like, why you gotta say just enjoy the game, man? Don't get weird about it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. All right, well, let's jump into some listener questions to round out the show. Alpaca Tom was saying, I was in the chat, says, should Xbox bring back avatars? Yes, they're still around, but it's so far in the background, it might as well not exist.
I think it's a really interesting question overall. And I also think that we're kind of in a state where, and this could just be a reflection of me. So you tell me if I'm wrong here. I don't feel like gaming is as social for me as it was back in the day. Like, I don't feel like Xbox Network is a social network like Xbox Live was on the Xbox 360, where like I was adding my friends in school. I was going on, seeing what their avatar was decked out in. I
Hmm.
think there was like, the librarian from Halo was like flying around some, or it was what do you call the Guilty Spark was
Guilty
like
Spark,
flying
yeah,
around.
yeah,
Yeah, Guilty Spark was flying around one of my friends' avatars. I'm like, okay, that's sick. I don't know that we're in that era anymore. As much as I would love to think that we are. What do you think?
I I can't. I feel the same, but I can't tell if that's just like I'm getting older and like the
Yeah.
friends I have. Like I've gained more online for like you and other people in the community. Like I've made new friends, but like my core gaming group of friends has kind of been consistent for over a decade now. So like I don't really, I'm not like going into game chat and like making friends like you did in high school, right? Like that was
Yeah.
a whole different world. Like Modern Warfare 2 lobbies, crazy, crazy times. From what I've heard, like most kids, teenagers, gaming is more social than ever for them.
Yeah.
Like that, like they don't care about single player games. They are the Fortnite, they are the Roblox. Like social games are what thrives with the younger generation. So I almost feel like there's a divide there where I'm like, I can see it being appealing to a certain audience. I haven't changed my avatar in ages. Last thing I remember doing with my avatar is like my FIFA squad. We all had them stand in the same pose and juggle a soccer ball. So if anyone like went to our profiles, you'd all see us doing the same thing, kind of like
That's
a
good.
unit. But yeah, I don't know. I'm okay if they don't, but like I don't think about my avatar.
I also think that they were more at the forefront with the Xbox 360 because I booted mine up to play some Modern Warfare 3 a couple of weeks ago for a video, and like as soon as you turn it on, your little avatar guy is spinning around. I've got
Hmm.
my UNSC hoodie on. I set this thing up in high school, and it was just kind of one of those moments of, oh, this is a moment in time for me. And so I think Xbox could make them big again if they smush them into the UI and like made them a thing. But I'd be surprised if they did that instead of just adding new avatar pictures or whatever. It's a very weird time right now.
I feel like we're behind. I feel like we're past avatars, I should say, because like avatars were clearly a response to the Mii's on like the Wii,
Oh yeah,
right?
100%.
So like even Nintendo doesn't care about the Mii characters anymore. Like even
Yeah,
they just do profile pictures. So I think we're kind of past the avatars, unfortunately.
unfortunate.
All right. Brandon writes in, says, do you think in retrospect that starting a precedent for new games to be day one into Game Pass is detrimental to the Xbox ecosystem in terms of longevity?
Interesting question. I don't really think it's detrimental in the way that Brandon suggests here. I think that there is a give and a take with it. I think that whenever you say day one on Game Pass, that then builds the narrative of I'm going to wait and play it on Game Pass. We've talked about this. I'm going to wait and see if it's on Game Pass, and then
Hmm.
by the time it comes around, like let's say horrible example, but we're going to run with it. Suicide Squad might come to Game Pass on day one. No one pre-ordered that, and so then, oh, it's not on Game Pass. Turns out it sucks anyway. All right, never going to play it, never going to buy it. Sorry, Rocksteady. I think that could be something that's kind of a byproduct in certain segments of the community. But in terms of like longevity, I think that overall doesn't really harm the games themselves if they're not in Game Pass on day one. I think the Game Pass is Xbox. Xbox's Game Pass narrative is going to persist either way. It's just kind of
Hmm.
the way that this generation has gone.
I think day one Game Pass is the only reason Xbox is still around. Like they had to do something drastic. They obviously had to make a Game Pass to differentiate themselves. Like that's the draw to the Xbox ecosystem. If you launch Game Pass in 2017, Phil Spencer comes out and is like, "We have a new thing called Game Pass," right? Like, and this is kind of what happened because day one wasn't always like he wasn't there initially, but like if he just that was it, I don't think Game Pass kind of explodes into what it was. Like if he never changes the tune, it's like now all first party comes day one into the service. I just see Game Pass as being a kind of a flop. Like I look over to something like PlayStation Plus, where I rarely use that service. That is a legacy catalog. Same thing with Nintendo. Like I rarely go see what Nintendo's doing because those are legacy games. If Xbox came out, and I don't think they can at this point, and said first party is no longer day one in Game Pass, I think Game Pass loses most of its value for me.
Yeah, I mean that's a very very big value add. And I was thinking about this too where I'm playing Lords of the Fallen. I love Lords of the Fallen.
Hmm.
That is all of a double A game. One that I downloaded on PC, Robin Hood Sherwood Builders. I have it on my screen to the right here. And it's kind of like a city builder combined with some Robin Hood-esque action stuff.
Hmm.
Really interested in that. All of like a high-end indie game, maybe low-end double A game. And I think that if you take away the day one Game Pass drops, or even if you were to say the first party games, let's just kind of go down that rabbit hole.
Hmm.
Um, and this becomes a service that I would find value in, but not that I would find $17 worth of value in every month.
That's what I was gonna say. How much value are people gonna be?
Yeah.
Because when I go into the Xbox Game Pass drop comment section and people are, oh, more indie games. Like it is a lot of complaining, and they're trying to mass market it. And those AAA games from the first party are what sell it to the masses. For
Mhm.
me, like I love my AA games, I love some indie games, but if it was just a service of that, I don't think it succeeds.
Yeah, I don't think it would succeed either. I think that I would have it and I wouldn't pay more than $10 a month for it. Probably really more comfortable at 8 if I was playing
Yeah.
like the indie AA thing all the time.
Hmm.
But the fact that it's got EA Play and it's got all these perks and it's got PC and live and console and like all these other things they've added on top of day one first party drops, that's where the values come. So I agree with you. I think that it's definitely helped Xbox stay alive. Not that it would have died, but it would be way less of the market share even than it is today.
I fully agree. Let's go over to Ghostly March, who wrote in with a few questions. We'll knock these out. Says, what do you guys make of reports that came out claiming IGN allegedly was bribing people to cheer and scream in excitement during the Phil Spencer interview?
I like the idea of screaming and excitement. I just imagine like Ryan at IGN holding up a sign that says "scream" and then they
Yeah,
all, yeah, just
please
freaking out.
applaud.
Yeah, it's that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't think that sorry, my headphones came unplugged. This is something people just do at live events. Like this is just
Hmm.
what you do, you know, like if you're at a concert or if you're at a taping of I don't know, Maury or something. Like you applaud whenever he comes out on stage and then
He's
whenever
not
it
the father.
yeah, exactly. And then everybody goes, "Whoa!" And that's what they did whenever Phil Spencer came out. They went, "Whoa!" And that's just what you do during a live event. So I don't think anybody was bribed or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know how much credibility there is in this. It does seem kind of like somebody wanted to make a whole lot of something out of nothing, and I don't really have much to say about it. Like when you go to sporting events, like at least in the United States, you hear the loudspeaker person like, "Let's cheer for this!" Like after a play, and I'm like, "All right, you're manufacturing the excitement."
Yeah, I mean, you got to kind of make it happen. I also love the idea of like a wrestling style intro for Phil Spencer before IGN goes live of just and in this corner. Yeah, no, we're not gonna.
Well,
No.
what they should do is just a Stone Cold Steve Austin glass break. Phil Spencer like kicks open the door, just walks
Heck
down
yeah,
the ramp. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that sounds good to me.
All right. Second question: do you think the fact that games aren't selling well on Xbox could be the real reason why Lego Horizon isn't coming to Xbox? Such as they don't see the value in it because they don't think it would sell due to people just wanting it to be on Game Pass. This kind of ties into our Game Pass question that we had. Lego Horizon, you think it's skipping Xbox because of sales?
I don't think so. I was looking up to see the studio that actually is working on that. It's Studio Gobo, and I
Hmm.
wanted to see if they had worked on other. So they worked on I see Hogwarts Legacy. Um, I was just thinking about the Lego games overall. Lego games don't skip Xbox, and it seems to me that Lego games would want to be everywhere. I 100% think this is a weird PlayStation thing with like we don't want the IP that we own on the green box. I think that's probably where their minds are at. I don't think it's a sales related thing. Now, admittedly, I don't know how well this game going to sell in general, but I definitely don't think it would sell well on Xbox. I think that's a fact. And so, if that is the decision they made, probably a pretty good call because you're not going to be making a ton of money on Lego Horizon on
Hmm.
Xbox. I just don't see that happening.
I bet this sells the most on Switch. Like there's no question in my mind that Switch copies are going to vastly outsell even PlayStation, and that's even with PlayStation having the Horizon IP, like that's their IP. It's still going to sell more on Switch. Do I think it skips Xbox because of sales? No, no. I do just think it's PlayStation being a little petty and being like, we're not giving it to them. Like Switch doesn't hurt PlayStation nearly as much as well. I wouldn't say it hurts like hurts them to be on Xbox. I just think like you don't lose as much brand image putting it on Switch as you would Xbox. It just looks a little different because like you understand like Switch has sold 160 million copies. Of course they want that there.
Yeah. I think that there isn't as much there as we might think. And I will say the only Lego Horizon I need is Lego Forza Horizon. It's on Xbox right now. Go get that DLC, baby. Let's go.
Is that in 5 or is it in 4?
That is in 4. You better get the Ultimate Edition because they just delisted the DLC.
Yeah,
Anyways,
no, they're delisting the whole game soon.
yeah, they are delisting the entire game this December. So if you want Lego Forza Horizon 4 content, you better go ahead and get that locked in. But yeah, whole video on that I made earlier today if you want that.
All right, last question, then we'll get out of here. Do you think that Xbox taking a more multi-platform approach now could actually benefit them in the long run by setting them up as the biggest third-party developer in the inevitable agnostic console future?
Without a doubt, 100%, that is the plan. I think that is. I don't think that's the default plan of like they're just going third party, not doing hardware. But I do think they are going to be by default the biggest third party publisher. I think they already are the biggest. Yeah, I think that's already a thing. So I think they'll keep the hardware going. But yeah, the whole plan all along was to be able to say, hey, even if we have this thing that isn't making a lot of money, we've got the other stuff that is making a ton of money. And by the way, Fallout is in Call of Duty now. So go buy your skins and enjoy season 4. Like that's exactly what they're doing. Buy your lives in Candy Crush. Well, let's give us that money.
Yeah, they've basically made themselves, and I say this, too big to fail, right? Like the IP they own, the amount of money they're going to rank in from live service games, every like Call of Duty alone, like Xbox as a brand, even if the console eventually does go away, which again, we've talked about that, don't think is happening anytime soon, if at all. I just think Xbox has secured their future.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think that is buying Activision Blizzard and Bethesda is basically like buying insurance. Like you have life insurance now effectively to where you're going to be fine either way. I completely agree.
In case of emergency, you break the Fallout New Vegas remaster, put that out. Like they got little
100%.
things they could just keep smashing and be like, here you go, here you go, here you go.
Limitless amounts of content.
All right. Well, that will do it for this week's episode. Sam, thank you so much for hanging out with me. You want to let everyone know where they can find you and your wonderful content, my friend.
Yeah, you can find me over at Jampack Sam on Threads, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all those fun places, making content throughout the week, and more to come. I am really enjoying the spot we're in. I'm going to Southeast Game Exchange next week, so if anybody's doing some game hunting in the South, I'll be out there. But I very much looking forward to that. And as always, like I said on my note, pleasure to be here with you every week. I always enjoy breaking in the news and chatting games with you, my friend.
Absolutely. And I noticed you left Twitter out of your where they could find you. You still banned over there.
I got it back. But I am back to not really using it that much. So thankfully did not get locked out of my Twitter for more than 24 hours. I was very pleased.
I was like, I don't know if Sam is because I was gonna tag you on Twitter as well for the poster, and I was like, I'll just put it in Discord because I don't know if he has an account on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, we are back. It did wipe everything though. It took my banner, my profile, my about me section. I had to go through and find all that stuff again. So that was fun.
Oh, lovely. Well, if you are on Twitter or Threads, you can find me at the Muffin Mon. It's a 17I07A. Follow us at Save Game Media on every platform to stay up to date with the latest. Until next week, we'll see you